Okay, to begin with, I'm going to stamp with a new Better Together red rubber stamp, and I'm going to use some jet black archival ink. Make sure your stamp pad is nice and juicy, because we're going to be stamping onto Creative Expressions watercolour card. You'll notice that I've used masking tape and taped my watercolour card down to the stamping platform. I do this all the time when I'm doing watercolour effects. So just press nice and firmly, evenly all over the stamp. And we're probably going to have to do 2 stamps for this. So re-ink your pad again. I'm avoiding inking the sentiment on this because it was already a good print of the sentiment, so I'm leaving the sentiment alone. And just stamp a second time, press it nice and firm. And there we go, that's perfect. Absolutely perfect. If I just hold it up, you can see. Perfect stamp. There we go. So make sure to put your lid back on your archival ink. And now I'm going to give these robots a kind of a 3D effect by shading with a graphite pencil. I'm using a 12B. It's quite soft because it's watercolour paper and you've got that texture. So I'm just going to start shading heavier from one side and lighter as I work in towards the middle. And I'm going to use a paper blending stump and just gently blend this out from the dark into the light into the middle. Now it's not going to blend as nice as it would on smooth paper. That's why I've used the 12B pencil, but it will blend absolutely fine as you'll see as we go along. So just blend it out in towards the middle. So the middle, we want the light coming from the front. So the shine's going to be in the middle. So I'll start shading now from the right hand side, exactly the same, starting darker on the edge and working in lighter. Okay, so I'm just going to now blend that again from the darker side on the right towards the middle, and that will leave that reflection in the middle of the robot's head. There we go, I think I need my glasses. So I'm now going to continue this technique on the other robot and the bodies, and I'll also add a little bit of shading on the ground as well. I know many of you know this, but not everybody will. So a rubber stamp you can only use black and white, or a colour and white. So you can't get any shading on a stamp the way they're manufactured. So this is a great way by using a pencil to add that shading you would same as a sketch. It just really works well. There you go. Just blend that one again from the dark to the light. From the dark to the light. Right, we'll speed the video up in a minute, I think, when I go to editing. That's it. All right, I'll just hold this up to the camera so you can see it a little bit better. So that's shaded. So we've got much more of a 3D look to this now. So next I'm going to wet the watercolor paper in the sky area. Now this is just clean water. I've added just a tiny bit of Skinner's Gold Ink-ology ink in there. You can see it's hardly anything at all. It's more or less a pinprick to the water. And I'm putting this on before I put the turquoise on over the top. And you'll see you get this lovely kind of greeny haze to it. There we go. Make sure you cover all of the sky area. Don't flood it too much. Just wet enough. There you go. Okay, I've mixed up some watered down turquoise Ink-ology ink. It's probably about 50% water to 50% ink. I'm just going to wash this now over the wet paper. Now don't worry, because we've wetted the paper, don't worry too much about streaks because that will settle. As long as you've got enough water on that paper, it will settle. If you have too much water, it can bleed into the robots and you don't want that. So a little bit of practice at doing this. If you paint in watercolours, you'll know all about this. And I don't know if you really can see on the video, I'll check, but you'll kind of start to see those little bit of a green haze coming through some of the blue. And that's that little dot of Skinner's Gold that we've added. Now I've taped the paper down. It will slightly warp because we added the water, and you'll probably notice some darker patches up at the top. Okay, we can get rid of those in a minute. There we go. Okay, I just hold up to the camera. You should see that green haze now. So I'm just going to add a little bit of just some clean water. Okay, just to the ground area beneath, going down towards the sentiment. So exactly the same as we did with the sky, except no tint in this, just clean water. Right, this is cold steel, and again I've watered this down, again about 50-50, and I've put some watered down paints into the little pot so I can use them quickly for the watercolour. They're ready to go really. Just drop a little bit out of the pipette. And then I use, for this, squirrel hair brushes. They're nice and soft, so just lay this grey into the ground area. So again, the reason we're putting the water down first, it makes the paint flow. But like I say, if you have too much water, it will bleed. So it's a bit of practice. Just try practicing on a piece of paper first when you're doing this type of thing. Okay, mop that up. I'm just going to add a little bit of the cold steel into the cans in the background there. There we go. Yep. So this is Skinner's Gold, and I'm using this straight out of the bottle, so I'm not watering this down at all. Just pip out a little bit out onto your mat. And I'm going to colour in the two robots. Okay, I'm avoiding the eyes. And just lay this in. So I've added no water, you'll see first, to the actual robots to help this flow. This will flow fine. If you added water, then you've got that issue that it could bleed over into the sky and into the ground. So you'll find if it's larger areas you're doing, then it's good to put some more clean water down first on the paper. But for smaller areas, you're fine just going straight in. Okay, so I'm just lightly now just tidying up the edges, make sure I've got right to the edge of the robots. Okay, right, next colour. So this is Ink-ology French Mustard. You only want a tiny amount. I'm going to use just a fine lining brush for this. And always make sure your brush is slightly damp. And with the French mustard, along with the Skinner's Gold and the London Brick, they're very good rust colours. So I'm just going to add little patches of rust to the two cans, and yeah, some of the nuts and bolts that are on the ground. Okay, next colour is Ink-ology London Brick. So this is kind of the third of the rust colours. It's more of a russet rust, more of a reddy rust. And I'm just going to add some patches again with this colour into the kind of the cans and the debris that's on the ground. I'm just going to add a little bit of the London Brick to their shoulder pads and their little ears. There we go, hold it up. Hard for you to see, but hopefully you can see what I've done. Okay, so here's a little technique and an option for you. Thin bleach. I've got mine in a little jar here. You can use thick bleach, but I find a thin bleach works better. And you want a cotton bud. And just dip this into the bleach. Okay. Now for this technique, take out most of the bleach. Don't take it all out, but most of it. And then very gently, I'm not putting any pressure, I'm just lightly swirling the cotton bud. Okay, so I want to take off some of the ink, but not all of it. So lighter in some places. If you were to fill this completely with ink, it would just take the colour straight out and straight back to white. But I kind of want it patchy to be more fluffy, I guess, like clouds. Okay, so I'm just going to randomly put clouds in. And again, if you're trying this for the first time, have some practice cards. Okay, if you get to the stage where it's not really working so much, add a bit more bleach, take the bleach out, and continue. There we go. All right, so let me just, I'll pop that down, jar back on the bleach, and just pop up to the camera. So we're nearly there. Okay. Okay, I want to add colour to the hearts, and actually for this I'm going to use some red acrylic paint. I want it to be completely covered in red for the hearts. So with my little liner brush, I'm just going to add some red acrylic into the hearts. You definitely need your glasses for this. There we go. Might just add some to the labels on the cans as well. Actually, I think I preferred them white, but there you go. Red on the labels. Okay, I've decided to do one last thing with my cotton bud and with some bleach. Now this is really dry, there's hardly any bleach in it whatsoever. Just gently, I'm going to swipe down in the center of the robots where I wanted that shine, the light coming in from the front, just to take a little bit of the Skinner's Gold color out and just create a shine. If you can see that now, it's just starting to take a little bit of color out, but not all of it. If you're going to do this, practice, 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 that you get the right amount of bleach in that cotton bud. If you do it too heavy, it can still look quite cool, and you get a nice white shine. Have a look at that. There you go. Right, I think I'm going to put a mount on top of this one. And maybe, yeah, I think I'll frame it. It looks quite cool. So, thanks very much for watching. I hope you learnt something on this, and I really look forward to seeing what you guys get up to with these. Thanks very much. Bye.